Hello there, Rabbi, and it's time yet again for another in our series on how to make America good again. Not great, but good. And as always, we hope you'll subscribe to our channel because it helps us out a lot. It doesn't cost you anything. We appreciate it. Many times we've discussed my habit of handing out spare change to the homeless. Whenever somebody's standing by the corner of the road holding up that little sign, I always roll down the window and hand them something. Now, is there anything really wrong with that? I like to think that if they're using the money to buy drugs, all well and good, and I like to know where they get drugs for 50 cents.
Well, Joe, when I lived up in Havre de Grace and was at the VA hospital, I used to go into McDonald's and buy a coupon book. And since Havre de Grace near the hospital and the base in Aberdeen, there were a lot of street people and a lot of people begging. And so to avoid thinking that I was giving money to support a drug habit, I would give people McDonald's coupons. That was so I did what you did with a slight variation. I often wondered if they sold the coupons, but I'm not sure what the value would be since they wouldn't make. And since people came up to me and wanted money for eating, I said, McDonald's, here's a coupon, here's a whole meal, here's the whole book. That's how I addressed what you were doing. We're looking at the three Abrahamic religions and Hinduism and Buddhism. And as I mentioned when we start, Hamlet, more honored in the breach than in the observance. My goal in what we're doing is to prove Hamlet wrong, that we now honor our own religions by observing our own teachings and not saying we do and then ignoring them. That's my goal, and that's what I'd like to see. And what we've seen so far is that the three Abrahamic religions and Hindu and Buddhism have the shared values, the same values. And they may have different sacred books. They have different quotes and literature. They may have different rituals to remind us of our obligations. However, as we're going to see today, acts of kindness and compassion are central, are core to Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. The book of Micah. What does the Lord require of you? To do justice, to love kindness, walk humbly with your God. We have in the Pirkei Avot the sayings of the fathers. The world stands on three things: on Torah, on service to God, and acts of loving kindness. Loving kindness is greater than any charity. Now, since Christianity calls our Old Testament, then Christianity goes along with the book of Proverbs. Let kindness and truth not leave you. And of course, Exodus stands out, Joe. You shall not wrong or oppress a stranger who takes residence in your land. So let's build on that with Christianity. Agape, love, selfless care and compassion. Isn't that a central commandment in Christianity? It's acts of kindness and mercy are expressions of love and follow the example of Jesus. Love your enemy, mercy to the poor and the marginalized. Ah, Matthew, what did Jesus say? Whatever you did for one of the least of among you, you do for me. In Luke, be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Clothe yourselves with compassion. And of course, what comes to mind immediately is the parable of the Good Samaritan, helping those who's an outsider. Both Judaism, Christianity, and as we're going to see, Islam, tell us that we are to extend all this to the stranger in our land, So, in Christianity, kindness and compassion are active expressions of divine love and are essential to Christian discipleship and salvation.
It's not like you're being asked to always hand over your wallet or give somebody
No.
everything that you have. I was taught always to hold the door open for other people when going through a store or a common entrance. Today, the expression of shock on people's faces when I hold a door open for them, it's heartening and disheartening at the same time. Courtesy and simple kindnesses to other people. There's so many small things that you could do to make the world a little better place and put a smile on somebody's face. And it's so rare. And where do we find that again? How do we start?
Joe, you're spot on because we're not talking about giving away money and not talking about handouts. We started, that's fine, but we're talking about common acts of kindness and courtesy to each other. And if we act kindly, if we do the little things, the big things will follow. You know, the Quran says Allah commands justice, doing good, and giving to relatives. The Hadith stresses Allah is kind and loves kindness in all matters. And so you've asked, we can go back into our sacred literature and find that we're not talking about writing checks. We're not talking about dedicating wings in a hospital. What we're talking about is helping each other, doing good, and being kind and having respect. And this shows up really in Buddhism because central to spiritual growth is to alleviate suffering and cultivating kindness and empathy in our daily activities. All of us are to be happy. Overcome angry with love, wickedness with goodness. This applies to driving on the Beltway. This applies to walking into stores. Kind, ultimate, boundless, loving kindness. And we look at the stories about the Buddha, and that's what it is. It was simple, everyday compassion. Because when we act that way, it overflows, and then we're going to donate more. We may give money, we may volunteer our time. But we see with Buddhism and then with Hinduism, it starts with these kind acts of compassion in our everyday activities towards all beings, and we make it part of our lives. And once it's part of our lives, it'll expand and we'll end up helping others beyond our little sphere.
Yeah, so the next time you're driving and a car in the lane over to your right has their turn signal on that they want to go into your lane, don't try and pass them. Let them in front of you. It'll make the world a better place all around, and it'll probably cut down on the accidents that are happening all the time around here. But thank you, Rabbi, for all your advice. I know it's no accident that you always give us good counsel.
It never ceases to amaze me. We were driving to Brookside Gardens yesterday, and I this particular vehicle zipped by me on the right, then cut someone off, and went on the left, made it through the light that I got caught at. Then I got to the next light where I turned left, and they weren't there. Well, God bless them. They didn't have an accident, they made it. When I made my left turn and I got to the next light, I was right behind them. So for all their antics, and it never ceases to amaze me that they just want to be a winner. That somehow in their mind is they got to the next red light before I did. And it's an accident waiting to happen. And that's not about being kind or compassion. Remember, habit. If that's their habit, imagine how they treat other human beings.